Well, hi everyone. Thanks again for watching. My guest today is Kaitlyn from Tea with Tolkien. So, Kaitlyn, thank you so much for being willing to be a guest.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This is going to be fun.
Yeah. So my first question is like, will you be offended if I'm drinking coffee instead of tea today?
No, I actually drink more coffee than I do drink tea.
Oh, really?
That's my confession. Yeah,
Oh.
I love tea, but I tend to drink more coffee.
Yeah. I kind of find like coffee is more convenient in some ways. So like, I have this like cold brew stuff that I buy from the grocery store, and it's like very easy just to like dump in a cup versus like brewing a cup of tea, which is really nice, but sometimes more work. So anyway.
Yeah, I feel like a cup of tea kind of demands respect, and sometimes when you're tired, like you just don't have that much to give. You just need something quick.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so getting to Tolkien, I'm curious, like when you what your first exposure was to Tolkien, or like what you first read.
Sure. My first exposure to Tolkien was actually when the first movie came out. I was like 10 or so, and my dad got a copy of The Fellowship of the Ring on DVD, and he wasn't really interested in it, but I was. And so I watched it, and then I realized, oh, these are books. Oh my gosh. And I just became obsessed with it. I got the books as soon as I could, and I read them over and over through high school. And then I read the Silmarillion at the end of high school. And it's kind of just been like a snowball effect ever since then.
That's awesome. I'm so glad. I'm so relieved that you said like you were exposed to the movies first, because I was going to be really embarrassed to say that like I wasn't like aware of them really until the movies came out. And then I was like, okay, I have to read the book so that I don't get like the movies stuck in my head. So I read like a little bit of The Fellowship of the Ring. I don't know that I finished it before the movies came out, but then saw some of the movies. And then I actually didn't finish the series, I think, until after I got married. So, more recently than you. But it was kind of like I didn't grow up with them. And sometimes I'm like embarrassed if, I didn't read them as like a 10-year-old like my husband did. I don't know exactly how old he was, but like he read them as like a young child. And so it's good to hear that, you can be a Tolkien fan even if you didn't, if you're exposed to it more recently, even though, they are so classic.
I feel like now as the movies are getting older, it's been like 20 years since they've come out. And so that's kind of becoming a more common Tolkien origin story for a lot of people. Just because they've been out for so much longer now. And as we're all getting like older, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because I feel like that's kind of how the TV show might be for this next generation, which is weird.
Yeah. Maybe it'll be kind of like, this is probably like a very offensive analogy, but like Star Wars, like they're the earlier ones and then like the newer ones. Hopefully the show will be better, like a better addition than the Star Wars, the newer Star Wars, but I don't know if it's kind of like that. There will be like a kind of like what's the word, renaissance there of like interest in Tolkien and everything.
Yeah, it seems like it.
Yeah. So I'm curious, so you're Catholic now. Were you're a convert though? I'm curious, like when you became a Catholic.
Yeah. I was raised kind of, I would just say non-denominational Protestant. We went to a couple different churches. I think we went to like a Baptist and then an Assemblies of God church for a long time. And I don't really know too much about the differences in what they all teach, because I feel like I was kind of just brought up in like a vague combination of all of them. But I started learning about Catholicism after my husband and I were married for maybe like 1 or 2 years. And we were reading about all of it together. So that was really nice because we didn't have this like tension that I think can sometimes happen if one person is more drawn to conversion.
Yeah.
Luckily we were kind of able to do it together. And that was in 2012 maybe is when we kind of started looking into it. And then our daughter was born in 2013. And we really wanted to have her baptized, but everyone was telling us we couldn't have her baptized because we weren't Catholic, which I'm not sure if that's actually a rule or not. But we weren't able to. And my husband was in medical school, and so we were moving like every 2 or 3 months, and so we couldn't attend RCIA anywhere because you need like a whole year. And after that, we were in England for, I think he had 2 rotations there in the winter of 2013. And we were just going to daily mass, but, we couldn't receive. And the priest there was just like, who are these people that are here like every day, but they don't ever come up to receive? Like, what's going on with them? And so we scheduled some appointments with him, and he was able to talk to his bishop. And then it kind of just went from there. We had basically like a super ultra condensed RCIA with him, where he was just like making sure we were clear on everything. And then his bishop allowed him to bring us into the church. So it was kind of like a crazy whirlwind experience, and nothing really worked out the way that it's normally supposed to happen, but it worked out really well for us.
That's really interesting. You're actually the second person I've heard with a story like that.
Really?
I know 2 people that they like couldn't really attend RCA because of travels, and in the case of the one person I'm thinking of, they like got to know a bishop, and then he was like, "What's up? Like, you never receive, the Eucharist. What's going on?" He's like, "Oh, I'm not actually Catholic. Like, I haven't been able to attend RCIA because I travel all the time." And then they're like, "Oh, we can fix that." And then, they just, were able to get him, confirmed. I think he was already baptized, but
yeah, we had been baptized, but we didn't have any paperwork, so we had to get conditionally baptized.
Yeah,
but yeah, it was weird because it was really nice that this priest was. I think he was a lot more understanding and willing to like go out of the normative way of things for us, because we had actually spoken with a couple different churches, and they were just like, "No, sorry, tough luck. You'll have to wait." And we were like, "But we move all the time. You don't understand. Like, it'll be at least 2 more years before we're anywhere." And they were kind of just like, "Sorry." And so that was kind of hard. But luckily, this priest was really, really understanding, and like he just cared about bringing people into the church, which is important. So I'm really thankful for him.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's kind of interesting too, like going to a Catholic church in England, which it's like very like Anglican, right? So I'm sure he's like, "Come on, like, we'll take you."
Yeah, it was crazy because all of the churches, like the churches of England and then the Catholic churches, they all had the same names. And then, so like we went to St. Edward the Confessor's Roman Catholic Church, and it was just down the street from St. Edward the Confessor's Church of England church. And so like finding directions and figuring out like, are we in a Catholic church right now? Like it was very confusing. There were a couple times that I went to the Anglican church at first, and I ended up going to like their mom's group for a while, and it was really fun, especially because I didn't know anyone else in England when we were there. But it was very weird how it's like it's very hard to tell the two apart, and there's kind of like this weird tension between the two that I guess I kind of wanted to stay out of because it seems like there's a lot of history there and a lot of drama.
Yeah, it seems like here in the US, like a lot of Protestants, like Catholicism is kind of like not on their radar, or they're kind of like, "Oh, those are the crazy Catholics," but they don't really like care. I don't know if in England it's more like, rivalry, like, "Oh, like maybe," I don't know if there's more attention there versus this.
Yeah, it seems like there's just like more of them disliking each other. Whereas, I think here it's more of like you're just kind of not thought about that much.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was more of a just kind of an awkward tension.
Yeah. Gotcha. So what year did you guys join the church then?
It was January 2014 because our daughter was like about to turn 1. She was born in 2013.
Gotcha. Okay. So then you had read like all like Lord of the Rings like before becoming Catholic then. So yeah. I'm curious, did it change? Like, you may not have even known like the Catholic maybe background, like maybe like underneath the surface, like the kind of the Catholic like philosophy there. So I'm curious, like, did it change anything, or like I wonder if that like recognizing like Tolkien and kind of his like Catholic background, if that like changed it once you read them after that point.
Yeah, I feel like well, I actually hadn't realized that he was Tolkien, that he was Catholic until maybe like a year before we became Catholic. So I think it was that we were listening to Catholic Answers Live or something on the radio, and someone just was like talking about how Tolkien was Catholic, and I was like, wait a second, what? Because like, here's this guy that I really respected, and to me, he seems like he knows the way things work, and he knew philosophy, and like just his mindset was something that seemed so cohesive and that it worked so well. So I was like, wait a second, if this guy is Catholic, well, maybe it's worth looking into more. And so that was probably, it wasn't like the main thing that drew me to it, but it was definitely part of it, because we didn't know any Catholics like at all. And so Tolkien was like the first Catholic that I kind of knew. And so I was just like, I respect this guy a lot. I want to understand why he believes this, because I've always thought, you know, this is just some goofy Mary worshiping nonsense, you know. So he really drew me into it. But then after becoming Catholic, reading The Lord of the Rings again, you do start to see things popping up, especially the way that Lembas is kind of, you know, it's not an allegory, but it does remind us a lot of the Eucharist. And then you have like Galadriel, who's kind of a Marian figure in her beauty and radiance. And you have like all these little things kind of popping up, and you're like, wow, I feel like it really enriches your reading of Tolkien.
I haven't read it since becoming Catholic, so I should probably, it's probably like, and it's been a few years anyway, I should probably reread it and kind of, for those
you'll
things.
have to join one of our book clubs.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me more about like the stuff that you do like around, you know, Lord of the Rings and Tolkien and everything.
Okay, so there's a lot that we do. The main thing that I do with Tolkien is a free book club, and so we meet on Discord, which is like if you're not familiar with Discord, it's kind of like Slack, where there's different channels, and it's like kind of like a really long group text. But Slack is like more for work, and Discord is more like for hanging out, and it's like gamers use it, but it's more like for community, and it's like less formal than Slack. And so we meet on there, and we can do text chats, and then we also meet somewhat regularly for voice chats. And we do book clubs there. We have just like general community chit chat going on. Right now we're talking a lot about the Rings of Power as it's coming out. And that's like the main thing. That's our Discord community. And we also have, I have different stuff on my blog, like different Tolkien reading resources. I have a guide to the Silmarillion that I've published, and it's all for free on our website, so everyone can just check it out whenever. I don't really like the idea of people having to pay for things like that, I guess, from my site. So I'm really happy to be able to offer all of that for free. We also have a lot of like inspirational posts, like how to plan a Hobbit party, or how to, you know, do kind of Hobbity things. So I kind of think it's like a big mix of just all kinds of different Tolkien stuff.
Cool. Yeah, I was checking out I forget the name of the title, 30 Days. What's the correct title?
Oh, yeah, that's 30 Days in the Shire. I kind of started out with like, it kind of started out being like a whole 30 kind of challenge. Like, instead of like eat these specific foods, it's like do these Hobbity things for 30 days, you know, but then it ended up being 30 days in the Shire. So it's like you kind of pick some Hobbity traits that you want to work on adopting, and then you have different challenges, like take a walk under the trees, read a letter of Tolkien, read the wholesome book. Like it's kind of just like a fun challenge in that sense. And we have a channel on our Discord for that. So if anyone's doing it, they can kind of connect with other people who are doing it at the same time.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like looking at that, and I appreciate a lot of the kind of ideas you have there of like, you know, walking more. Like my husband and I we're very like pro bicycle and like pro walking. Like, but now we live in like a larger town where it requires a lot of driving. And it's just like a little bit soul crushing to like have to drive everywhere. So I was like, oh yeah, like that's so good. To just like walk more. Or I know you said, you know, like I don't know if it was baking or cooking or like making, you know, like a Hobbit feast, just like all of those kind of going back to the intentional ways of living, I guess, you know, where you're.
Yeah. It's like slowing down and taking time to do things in life that are worth doing rather than just like go, 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 go. Like, you know, trying to eat slow food instead of fast food, because food is meant to be enjoyed and it's meant to be like a something that's good for you, rather than just like food for fuel where you're just like eating a cheeseburger, which like I do that a lot. No, not like no judgment to anyone
Right.
who does, but it's just like that would be. I feel like if you're striving for a more Hobbity life, like these are just like ideas of stuff to work on.
Awesome. And so, okay, so I have a stupid question. I'm embarrassed to ask, but I'm going to ask it because I think it's like worth addressing. Okay, so I've heard Tolkien. I've heard Tolkien. I feel like I kind of grew up saying Tolkien, and then I feel like lately I've said Tolkien because I feel like I've heard other people say it. So is there like a definitive, like, this is how it's pronounced, or is it just kind of like...
I'm pretty sure it's Tolkien is the most correct, and I say both just because I think that's kind of my lazy American way of speaking, I guess. But if you listen to like Bishop Barron talking about Tolkien, you know, he's always like Tolkien, you know, like he's kind of like a language guy. And so he says it really distinctly. And I do think that's the more correct way, but it's not like you're not doing anything wrong, I guess I would say, by saying Tolkien. I think as long as you don't try and say like Tolkien.
Right. Okay.
Because that's goofy. That doesn't make any sense.
Okay. Cool. Okay. I'm a little bit relieved. Okay. Good. So tell me, okay, so the Rings of Power, that's based on the Silmarillion. I can't even, okay, so say that word for me.
The Silmarillion.
Okay, Silmarillion, thank you. So that's kind of, the Rings of Power is kind of based on the Silmarillion, right? Which is kind of more of the backstory of Middle-earth?
Kind of. It's kind of tricky because
out of the loop.
They actually don't have the rights to the Silmarillion.
Okay.
And so it's based on the second age of the world, which is covered towards the end of the Silmarillion, but it's also covered in the appendix to the Lord of the Rings. And so they do have the rights to the Lord of the Rings. So there's a lot that we know about the second age that they might not necessarily be able to put in the show because they don't have the rights to the Silmarillion. So it's kind of a weird legal situation that they seem to be in. But there is still a lot in the Lord of the Rings. Especially like if you read the Council of Elrond, you know, it's like 500 pages long, and they recount like the whole history of the ring. And so if you have the Rings of Power as a TV show, it's obviously you're going to have the one ring in it. So they can kind of pull things out of it. But yeah, it's kind of like a prequel, I guess.
Okay. So it's prequel, and so it doesn't like it is fully a prequel. It doesn't, there's no like flash forwards and...
There shouldn't be, no.
Okay.
It's like firmly set in the second age, and the events of The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings are in the end of the third age. So there's like several thousands of years in between them. So they shouldn't mingle. Okay.
And you went to the premiere, you got invited. Did you like lose your mind that you were invited to that?
It was really exciting. Yeah, they actually told me we were not allowed to call it a premiere because it was a screening.
Oh, okay.
I think the one in London that just happened yesterday was like the real premiere. Okay. But yeah, it was like a special screening where I got to see the first 2 episodes, and it was really cool because I've been able to work on different things with the show since May of this year, and so to be able to go to like the final culmination of the end of all of their like the before season 1 stuff. It was really neat. And I've gotten to know a lot of the other Tolkien people who went. So seeing them was almost like a little reunion of friends. So it was really cool.
That's awesome. And then remind me, I know it's very, very soon. Maybe it already happened. When does the show come out?
Oh, it comes out on technically September 2nd.
Okay.
But if you're in the US, it comes out the night of September 1st. So it just depends on your time zone.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, there's actually, this is not related to anything we're talking about. Well, kind of. You'll see. There's like a tea shop, like a milk tea shop that also their grand opening is September 2nd. So
nice.
Maybe and I really like milk tea.
Then you can have tea with Tolkien.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why it's related. So anyway, I'll have to get a milk tea and try to watch the show. I don't know if I'll actually watch it that day, but I definitely want to check it out. And then tell me about you have like Hobbit party. I've seen you like post on Twitter about a Hobbit party. I don't know if that's happened yet or if you're still planning it. I'm just curious to hear how one does such a thing and what you're planning for yours.
Yeah, so this is I think it's our 11th Hobbit party. And this year is going to be really fun because as our family has grown and we started having kids and now our kids are getting older, they've become really involved in the party planning process.
Oh, fun.
So my 9-year-old has all of these ideas. Like she wants to, for our Rings of Power party, she wants to dress up as a security guard and take tickets. She wants us to make tickets and she wants us to have like certain snacks. And so it's really, really cool to see all of their personalities coming through in the way that our party kind of morphs over the years. And so we do what it is really, it's a 2-day party because we have it on a Friday and a Saturday because a lot of people can't come Friday, they can't come Saturday. So I wanted to make sure like as many people can come as possible.
That seems like very authentic. Like if you're like embracing the Hobbit way of life, like over 2 days.
It's great too because we usually have like maybe 4 or 5 friends come from out of town and then they stay with us and they usually get here like the week before. Oh my goodness. Really it's like a whole week-long party if you think about it. And we just have a lot of food, a lot of drinks. We do Tolkien trivia, and I do a lot of themed games for the kids. We do Shelob's Web, which is probably my favorite. So this year I got glow-in-the-dark yarn, and then I give the kids foam swords and a glow stick. And their glow stick is the Phial of Galadriel. So then they have to like hold it up and go through the yarn. And then sometimes it's like you have to get through it and it just depends on where we put it in the house. Like maybe you have to go through the basement and then up the stairs to escape Shelob's Web, or you have to go into Shelob's Web and rescue like a little Frodo plushie doll, or maybe you have to find a golden ring somewhere. So it's kind of just changes. We also do archery with the kids, which is really fun. All kinds of just a lot of different games and activities, trivia, and it's just like a whole festival almost in my house.
That's awesome. At first when I heard you or I saw you like talk about those, I thought of it as more like a viewing party of the movie, but I think what you're describing is a lot better than
we have this year we were planning a Rings of Power watch party, so that was going to be this weekend, and then the Hobbit party is in 2 weeks.
Yep, so they both need their own dedicated events. That's awesome. Gosh, I'm kind of inspired. We live in like a tiny apartment, although maybe it's kind of something a Hobbit would appreciate because it's like garden level, which is like half basement level. So maybe it would be very appropriate to have a Hobbit party here after all.
Yeah, well, when we started out, I mean, we were newlyweds in college and just had our 1-bedroom apartment. And that back then it was more of like a viewing party just because we were, I don't know, I feel like now that we have kids, it's a lot different. But the way that we used to do it before then was more like a Lord of the Rings marathon and just lots of food and drinks. But the food and drinks is the main part. That's the most important Hobbity part.
Yep.
So really, like, you can do it no matter where you live and whatever scale you want. Ours are just really, really big now because we've been doing it for like 11 years. Yeah,
absolutely. And like, honestly, like if you were to do like a marathon or anything like that, something you want to do like once a decade, I feel. Or even like watching the movies, you don't want to watch like probably every year.
Yeah, it'd be like 12 hours of watching movies.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm curious with your husband, like obviously it sounds like he's like cool with it. Is he like just like, oh, that's like Kaitlyn's thing, or is he like also into like Lord of the Rings and everything, or what's his kind of role like stand?
Okay, so yeah, he's never read Tolkien actually, which when people hear that they're horrified. But I've never read like any of his medical textbooks.
There you go.
Kind of like, we still like each other. He does get really into it because it's kind of the same like with the kids. I try to let everyone bring their own personalities and ideas to the party, which is really hard for me because I'm such a perfectionist and a control freak. I really don't like collaborating with anyone, but I'm like, this is a family. This is the party for all of us. It's not just about me. And so I love getting to see all of their ideas. And my husband's usually out in the backyard with his he has a long Gandalf pipe, and they'll be like out smoking tobacco, and all the guys will be out there, and they usually have a really good time. And he's actually beat me at the Lord of the Rings Trivial Pursuit once, which he never lets me forget because he somehow won, even though he's never read any of the books. I think he's just really good at guessing.
Yeah.
But he does get really into it, just like in his own way. He doesn't really know what I'm talking about half of the time, but it's still really fun.
I'm sure that's part of like the fun of it for him. Like maybe like messing things. I don't know. Like I feel like if I were him, I'd try to like mess it up or like get it a little bit wrong or like, I don't know, just have fun with it, you know, even if he's not interested in reading the books.
Yeah, he's always like goofing around. Like I made bingo cards for the Rings of Power premiere party, and I just posted them on Twitter, and I was like, oh, you should make a bingo card, you know, with your predictions for the show. And he's like, well, I have no idea what's going to be in the show. So he put like a tree, war, like, you know, an orc. I was like, okay, well, you're going to get a bingo then. But yeah, he does like kind of just messing around.
Gotcha. That's super fun. So I'm curious, like about like how, you know, your family, obviously you have like this like Hobbity thing. Is there like, it seems like you're so intentional with the Lord of the Rings thing. I can see you like being, I hope I'm not putting pressure on you by saying this. I can see you guys like being very liturgical in the way that you live your lives. Or like, I'm curious, like, and maybe it is very liturgical. Maybe it's just very Catholic. I'm curious, like what like that, what your family culture is like in terms of just, you know, how you go about your faith.
Yeah. I feel like for us, I am not very organized when it comes to like remembering what feast days are when. So we don't do as much of like I feel like you see a lot of mom blogs doing like, oh, it's so-and-so's feast day. Here's this themed craft. Like I'm not very good at that, but I do feel like we pick special days. Like we have each of my kids' baptism birthday that we celebrate, and then we have their whatever feast they, whatever like patron saint, whether if they're named after a saint or if I just pick one for them, they get to celebrate their feast day in a special way. Like they'll get to get a cake or something. So we do a lot of celebrating, I would say, and it's pretty fun. And we also kind of have our own special routine for when we go to mass. We always go get tacos afterwards. So I kind of try to make like, I don't know, just like little traditions as we're going along the way, which is kind of, it's a little bit harder because my husband doesn't have a consistent work schedule. So he's not off work every weekend, and he doesn't, he's not home. Like, you know, like some people, they get off of work at like 4 p.m. Like that's not our family. So it's a little bit trickier, I think, but I feel like I'm still making it work pretty well. So it's nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like you said the word there already, but I really thought I heard like tradition, you know, like having those traditions that, you know, are unique to your family. That's awesome. My mother-in-law has there's a saying with my parents-in-law. I don't know if they say it or if the family just recognizes that they like live by this principle that like, if you do it once, it becomes a tradition. So sometimes it's like, oh, you know, they're coming up for, you know, this holiday or this thing. And then, you know, we do it once and then like, okay, now we have to do it every year. So it's just fun to see how like, you know, traditions can kind of develop. And I think that is like a really beautiful way to live with your family, and also like a very Catholic way to go about it. So that's awesome.
Thanks.
Cool. Well, I think that's everything that I, you know, wanted to chat about. So it was really fun to get to learn a little bit more about you and kind of about Hobbity ways of doing things. So yeah, thank you so much for your time, and it's been really fun to chat with you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.